edition of Pof Cross Country, a social program that is dealing with topical issues across Nigeria every week, coming on Saturday 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. In the studio at the moment to tackle the issue that is very topical and a concern of all Nigerians is about the designation of the country as a country of particular concern by the President of America, Trump, over allegations of genocidal killing of Christians in Nigeria. We have in the studio Professor Abiodun Ojo, the Provost of the College of Postgraduate Studies of Afe Babalola University at Ekiti. On my right is Otumba Bayoaina, who is the National Secretary of Yoruba Leaders of Thought and the Chairman Managing Director of Danke Food, the very first fast food in the state.
Thank you very much.
The question now is it true that there is genocidal killing of Christians in Nigeria? Let's start from Professor Abiodun Ojo.
Thank you very much, the host. Definitely there may be what appears to be genocidal killings. Anything that is consistent, persistent, intentional, and at the end of it, that is demonstratively focused on a particular group or religion or whatever, under the United Nations definition of genocide, I will say that for the past 10 years in Nigeria, some of these things have been going on, and it has been difficult for the country or the government to accurately describe what has been going on as genocide, and the reason has been because of the unwillingness to confront the real problem. For me, I feel that there is evidence of genocidal killing of Christians in Nigeria, even though it's controversial to say it, but it is there.
But do you agree with this view?
Spot on, totally. This thing has been going on since I think 2009, when this issue of Boko Haram started. And for a long time, it was difficult for government to act because most of the governors of the North were claiming that the Boko Haram people were their people. I even particularly remembered an instance when some governors had to take up newspaper advertisements to apologize to Boko Haram. And their objectives were very clear. They said they wanted to institute Sharia in Nigeria, and anybody that's against Sharia normally became their target. And the easiest target to identify in such an instance would be the Christians in the North, who ordinarily have been treated like second-class citizens since independence by the northern establishment. So these people are helpless, they are vulnerable, and they continue to be objects of targeted violence, kidnapping, forced marriage, and so on. So I think the final chapter of it is to decide to eliminate. And when you see a whole village mauled down, when you see people being targeted and they're running into a mosque for safety, and then the imam is intervening to prevent their killing, this structure can no longer help people. When people kill and they are allowed to go with impunity, you will realize that they are either being aided, abetted, and in fact, in some cases, you could feel that there's an encouragement to do it. I'm a Christian. We Christians in the South do not have a fair knowledge of what it takes to be a Christian in the North, particularly in the northern villages. But having said that, the banditry and the kidnapping and the insurgency that is going on in the North also has an economic dimension, which is to alienate people from their land so that they can appropriate the mineral resources there. So they are multi-layered. But till tomorrow, we have not heard of Leah Shuaibu, who was kidnapped among so many students, and her release was conditioned upon her renouncing her religion. Many of these things, people are burnt alive for not knowing that they have committed a capital offense. And you would see highly learned people from the North coming out in support of mob justice, so long it has a link to religion. So I think the genocide itself is part of a bigger plan, of a larger plan to establish a power structure which is discriminatory against some certain set of people in the North.
Now, Professor Ojo, some of the defenses in Nigeria today is that it is not only Christians that are being killed. How do you find that defense?
Yeah, it is true that it's not only Christians that are being killed, but that is not going to exempt the fact that when something is persistently done, when something is consistently done, when you actually have so much resources devoted towards a particular section of people, there is no other way to describe genocide other than those elements that are surrounding the way things have been done. Of course, Muslims are being killed as well. Of course, enemies are being killed. In actual fact, there are so many other people that are being killed. But the persistent nature of the massacre of a particular group of people of faith in the midst of all these other killings shows that there is a deliberate effort to commit those crimes. And once that has been established, there's no need to be running away from it because there are other killings. Yes, there are other killings, but those other killings are actually targeted to other ones who are against the extremist ideology, especially those people that are moderate Muslims and other people that are not as fanatic as these extremists. The issue is this: who are the killers? Who are the killers? And ever since these killers, who will claim to be Muslim, and when they are killing, will be shouting Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Have you seen any Christians going around killing people in their mosque, killing a whole city and driving them out and bringing themselves to come and establish themselves there? These are jihadist tendencies. And when these are taking place, there's no other way to describe those tendencies. That other people are being killed are just part of a system of accomplishing their mission. And their mission is to get rid of Christians in that area called the Middle Belt and the North. And I believe that trying to explain it away, that other people are being killed, that does not mean that it is genocidal. It's just an excuse to avoid dealing with the issue that is at stake.
By the way, now, there are those who are already reading other meanings to Trump's interest in Nigeria at the moment. Why do you think Trump is raising this issue this time?
Oh, what? In my view, this will probably be the first time that America will be talking of intervening in another nation's affair on the basis of religion. It has always been on maybe human rights and some other secular things, but not religion. The Christians in the North would say that it is a sign that God is signing their prayers. I can tell you that for free. For me, Trump has also claimed to be a Christian, though we know he's not one. But this kind of step will actually help him to consolidate his base further among the white American evangelicals who form a very substantial chunk of his support base. So I can see him doing that. Then I can see the Northern Christian see something like an answer to prayers. But let me quickly add this. 2 years is too short to expect President Tinubu to completely solve a problem that has been festering over us for almost 20 years now. I remember very clearly around 2006 or 7 when something like this happened in Plateau, and they called a town meeting. The president then was a Christian, and somebody came in and wanted to introduce himself as the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, and he said, "Calm my folks." Of course, you will know that leadership at the federal level like that would be very, very timid in blaming the aggressor when we know who the aggressor is. But Nigeria was a bit fortunate under Buhari and El-Rufai. I don't think anybody could have dealt with El-Zaki and his team of Shiites the way Buhari and the El-Rufai dealt with them. Don't forget, this group became so entitled that they even dared to block the chief of army staff from moving. That is the typical entitlement mentality of those who belong to the established religion in the North. They get away with murder. They get away with anything considerable. Those that were even killed among them, I will call it collateral damage. That's what I will call it. That if you say Muslims are also, they are just collateral damage. They are not the main target. The main targets, we know who they are. We know who they are. And if this declaration of Trump will make our country sit up and face those challenges that tend to tear us apart, then we'll move forward. I was at a conference last week and somebody was praising the Southwest, and there's no other place in the world where you have so many people belonging to different religious groups almost in equal proportion and living in harmony. Nigeria needs to study us here in the Southwest to know how to live in harmony, because without that harmony, we will not be able to unleash our full potentials. These fights are just distractions for us. I can imagine how many trillions have gone down the drain trying to fight Boko Haram. In fact, every day a new group will just emerge, and they're making millions, if not billions, from this enterprise. Unfortunately, it is the blood of Christians that is being shed most of the time in the course of this adventure.
Professor Joe, there are those who believe that Trump is not really interested in Christians, but rather in the mineral resources of Nigeria. Some are also saying that it is because of the relationship of Nigeria with China at the moment, and that is why he is doing what he is doing. What do you think?
Wonderful question. Actually, those people who are of the opinion that Trump is doing it because of our oil are mistaken. I don't believe that the oil is what is attracting President Trump to be interested in the affairs of Nigeria. Of course, we have oil, and we've had oil all along. We've had all these other things. Some people might say because Dangote now has this huge refinery, and we are not going to be importing oil anymore, and this and that. But those are just what I would call looking for excuses. Now, Trump, being a politician, as he has become, is influenced by a lot of things that will influence the base, which my co-discussant has mentioned. You see, the base of Trump are evangelicals, and there have been a lot of evangelical people talking about all this killing that has been going on in Nigeria. So there is this pressure group that has been talking about the killings, religious motivated killings in Nigeria. And they've been saying it all across, even in Nigeria. And a lot of our own Christian group, especially one Catholic bishop, actually went to America to make a case for this particular situation. And Trump, being somebody that always see an opportunity to use to boost his image, sees that if he is talking about trying to protect Christians, his base will also be motivated. So he is not driven by the oil in Nigeria. That's number one. Number two, you also mentioned that what was it that you said again? The second thing that
about the relationship between Nigeria and China.
Yes. See, these are power equilibrium that may also drive Trump to make a decision like that, because in the first place, Nigeria has been playing some of these economic footsies with the Brazil economic group, South Africa.
Lucia recently,
yes.
a country called
So,
St. Lucia or something.
and one of the things that may also make Trump to have a feeling that they need to disrupt some of these things, that Nigeria is trying to make their naira to be their means of purchase with all these other groups.
Okay.
So that means that
De-emphasize the dollar.
the dollar is being de-emphasized, and that will affect the economy of America. So, and you know that Trump is always interested in what promotes America first, and anything that will affect America surely will have Trump to want to say that, look, we need to disrupt this process immediately. So I think it's a mixture of that power rearrangement, and in terms of currency, and a lot of pressure group on from the evangelical religious basis that I believe is driving Trump. I don't believe it's about our oil. There's nothing about our oil that is going to make Trump to want to come to Nigeria. No.
Otumarina, you said in your last statement that you spoke about established religion in the north. Where is the secularity of the country, the status of Nigeria as a secular state when we talk about established religion?
Actually, I remember that in the 70s, when the second regime was being incubated, there was a lot of talk about the status of Nigeria. Are we secular? Are we multi-religious and so on? And it took a long, it was a very controversial period then. And the delegates in the Constituent Assembly from the North, or constitutional group from the North, wanted by all means to include Sharia. And eventually they succeeded. So despite the fact that we say that we are secular, we are in fact multi-religious. That is de facto as against in the law. We are multi-religious by practice, and the Sharia court, there will be a grand kadi, there will be this and that. Those are the only religious groups that have been able to find their way into the constitution of Nigeria. And I think since 1979 it has remained so. So it is difficult to say that Nigeria is entirely a secular nation. At least by the way we run our nation, it's not entirely secular. We have Pilgrims Welfare Board for the two religious groups. The lawyers, they have their legal week, which is always climaxed by either a worship in the church or a worship in the mosque. We have all the paraphernalia of state recognition of religious groups, mainly Christian and Muslim. But the Sharia group, the Muslim group, tend to have the upper hand. That is my submission.
Professor Abiodun, do you think indeed the President of America, Trump, may actually invade Nigeria and carry out his threats?
If I answer that question, then the President Tinubu and his government will not take the threat seriously. Ordinarily, as a person, I don't think America will want to waste one of their super bombs that will cost about $1 billion on some ragtag terrorists in Nigeria that has nothing to do with American economy. But you never can tell what Trump will do, because sometimes I think Trump can be irrational, and if he is not well advised, he may take very, very strong decisions that will make him to attack Nigeria. But knowing the way American politics go, especially when they want to go to war, there has to be more than just the religious affair that will drive them. Like I was saying, the issue of BRICS, that is the Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, that group is a major threat to the American economy. And Nigeria has already tried, I think they have joined the BRICS. And because of that, that could be a particular influencing reason why Trump may want to actually take that decision to attack Nigeria. But left to that only religious matter, I think they will put pressure on the government to ensure that the government do the right thing, because government have been actually very nonchalant about all the killings that have been going on. Even the last time that a large-scale killing, where over 200 and something people were killed, up to today nothing happened. Nobody has been arrested. Nobody has been prosecuted. That's one of the reasons why, for me, I don't see how anybody can be saying that this is not genocidal. What else can be considered genocidal when a whole town is wiped out and other people are now living there? And those other people that are living there are traced to those people who came to kill them. And you are saying that this is not genocidal. You are displacing people from their homeland, and you are saying it's not genocidal. There's no other definition about it. So personally, I think Trump is putting pressure on the government, but at the present time, I don't know how far he will go in terms of trying to ensure that all these other new decisions President Bola Tinubu is doing in the area of economy, how it will affect the U.S. economy. Anything that will affect the U.S. economy, Trump will make a decision to attack.
Otumba, do you think Trump's statement is a mere threat?
For now, it remains a threat because he needs the approval of Congress to go to war, or to declare war. That's the first thing. The second thing is that he did not say he will act immediately. We are just a country of concern, okay, and they may eventually attack. I think this threat is already yielding fruits.
Yes.
By motivating our fighting forces to work harder. I do not know how far this is true, but I read somewhere yesterday that about 34,000 fighting soldiers have been deployed to Borno State. Now if you have 34,000 soldiers there, do mopping up all the terrorists, I think the fear of being caught and the consequences would likely, one, stem the drift of young, jobless youths who form a ready supply for this insurgents. It may stem it. The other thing is for the North to examine itself and see whether the path they have been pursuing all this while has favored them or not. This job is the job of the elite. You see, every society needs a civilizing elite group. A group that would imagine a vision. Usually they are not more than 2 to 3% of the leadership, and then chart a course and be very, very firm with that course. And over time, people would buy into it, and then you have the emergence of a society that is truly civilized, not barbaric, going about with sword, killing people, and so on and so forth. So I think that this junction that we have reached now is very, very important in our fight against terrorism. You know, all along, nobody has actually threatened to come and aid the helpless. We now have a power that is superior to even what we have on ground, threatening that we are coming. And I think that in the next few months, we may begin to actually see not just combatants being arrested, even their financiers. The UAE has done more for us to arrest financiers of terrorism and of terror than we ourselves have done. And we'll be surprised if you check a true list of people who are contributing to insurgency in Nigeria. And when I talk about insurgency now, I'm also talking about Eastern Nigeria, the Southeast. They have hundreds of thousands of people, particularly living abroad, sending money home to equip these people. You have them, as for the North, you have many of them residing in the North, and some of them outside, some of them not even Nigerians, but people who have interest in what those people are doing, sending money. And when they feel they are running out of money, they look for one or two vulnerable banks, rob them, kill people there, and take money. So these are the things that I think should be happening very soon now. Let us see who is funding these people, or rather, who are funding these people. What are those channels? Choke them of fund. By the time they are hungry at the war front for 2 or 3 weeks, many of them will sell off their guns or surrender and go back to the farm. And this is the right time to go to farm now. Because the reward appears to be worth the effort now these days.
If you are interested in contributing to the program from home, you may call this number 080-359-09115. If you're calling from outside Nigeria, plus 234-80-359-09115. Professor Ojo, some of the excuses that some defenders of Nigeria against Trump's allegation are given is that Nigeria is a sovereign country. Is there a point in international relations when sovereignty fails as an excuse for defense?
Of course, yes. Sovereignty is limited to a certain extent, especially when crimes against humanity is being committed. Whenever crimes against humanity is being committed, the international community, either through the United Nations and other international bodies, has what they call the R2P, responsibility to protect. And that means that at that point, when crimes against humanity is being committed, your sovereignty has no meaning in the international community, because the international community has a right to either engage that country either diplomatically or militarily. So this excuse that we are a sovereign country is only sufficient to the extent where the government is doing what they are supposed to do. In this particular case, there are evidences that are there showing that the government is actually complicit in many of these things that are going on. I'm glad that my co-discussant was mentioning that just about a day or two ago, 34,000 military personnel have been sent to Borno State. Where are those military people before? why haven't they sent those people to go and do what they need to do? Many times, these military people will be informed that attacks will be taking place, and they will fail to show up, not even until after the whole place has been cleared, massacres have been committed, and everything like that. And there are times when these people are arrested, and they will say that order from above, they will use it to release those combatants, those terrorists. Not only that, it's obvious that the government of the day is complicit in the sense that you find these same terrorists coming to town to where government functions are going on with their guns on their shoulder and everything, and they are not arrested. So, what is called breakdown of law and order, where the international community will come in to protect the helpless. Once it comes to the point where there is a need to protect the helpless, then there is that R2P doctrine that will be used by international community to come to your country. Your sovereignty has no meaning at that point. So in this particular case, all these consistent things that have been going on in Nigeria shows that Nigeria has reached a point where some helpless people, especially the Christians in the north, need the international community protection. And that is why this issue of Nigeria is a sovereign country is meaningless at this point. In actual fact, I don't want war in Nigeria. I don't pray for war in Nigeria. But President Trump is not planning to come and implement war in Nigeria. He said he wants to come and destroy the terrorists. And when they do that, it means that these people don't just come to anywhere. They have sophisticated technology that will help them locate all these terrorist camps and everything. In fact, for your information, those terrorists have actually started telling themselves that they should not be gathering themselves into a camp where they will be located by satellite, where there will be groups of them so that they can be targeted. So they've told each other that they should start dispersing, meaning that they know that when Trump says he wants to come and attack, he's not coming to attack Ado-Ekiti. He's not coming to attack Lagos. He's coming to attack those camps where those terrorists are from. And that is under the international R2P doctrine. They have that power to intervene to help the helpless.
With so much information about the intention of the U.S. and the awareness of the terrorists and their sophistication, do you see Trump at this moment actually succeeding if he comes with his troops to Nigeria? Because there is a possibility that these people, the terrorists, will have arranged themselves.
Well, for me, to win a guerrilla warfare is extremely difficult for the normal, regular army. And these people have neither form nor shape, and are quick-footed. So I don't see Trump coming in and soldiers coming in and within a month or two completing the assignment and going. I think the threat element of the whole situation is the most important thing, and then for Nigeria to follow up as appropriate. Follow up without the aim of rehabilitating anybody. To follow up with the aim of showing that the state, usually one of the definitions of the state is that it has the monopoly of violence. It has the monopoly of the ability to enforce its laws. When you now have a situation where ragtag people are even holding government actors hostages and so on. But whether Trump will come in and maybe fight within 2 or 3 months and the whole of this thing would collapse, I doubt it. I still think that Nigeria will need to win this battle by itself and for itself. That is when we can look forward to having a time of peace. Because the victory will also depend on a lot of these people surrendering and changing their lifestyle. 1, 2. Many of the people also fighting are from the neighboring countries. Many of these from Libya, from Mali. If you remember, in the mid-70s, there was a famine in West Africa, and we had thousands of migrants, Arabs. I call them Arabs, but they are actually Africans of very lighter skin and so on. The man will sit here, his children and wife will be somewhere there begging for arms. What we now have are soldiers of fortune who are not begging for arms. They are not now kidnapping our people, slaughtering people and so on, and making so much money. So, maybe by the time our military, the immigration, the customs, that through whom some of these weapons actually escapes into the country and so on and so on, by the time they all sit up to face this problem, 1, to staff the source of supply of money, ammunition and food, and then to face these people in battle as you see them. Because very many times people will tell you that they are at the verge of catching up or eliminating a group, and then they will say order from above. Unfortunately, nobody has ever told us who that above is. We don't know the above. So we don't know whether it is actually order from above or an offer of 500 million or 50 million or something. We don't know. But we just hear order from above. And then that will be the end of it. You see, these people got so audacious, they even attacked the headquarters of the Nigerian police at a point in time. They attacked the UN office here in Nigeria. And they were about attacking Aso Rock. During Buhari's regime,
Yes.
that was when Buhari now sat up. You understand? And you were 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, Abuja was one of the most peaceful settlements in the whole West Africa. But within a short while, criminals were actually going into people's residences to kidnap them. So we must face the fact that what we are facing is more serious than the way we have been handling it. The world is watching us. And if we prove incapable of handling our own affairs by ourselves, people will intervene. I always cry about sovereignty and so on. There is nobody that enforces international law. It is just for the weak, in my view. It is for the weak. And we are not yet strong to defy, to say that, to hide under international law. I think we can. What China can do and get away with, we cannot do it. So, we need to organize ourselves. In Ekiti now, for example, we have Amotekun. At the federal level, they are trying to arrange forest guards and so on. By the time we implement all these things, I do hope that there will be, it will usher in a period of peace. But while we are still there now, let us double our efforts so that Trump will not use that as an excuse to come here. And you see, if, God forbid, if he ever does, he will make a very bad job of it. He will make a very, 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 very bad job, and he will not be sorry. to all of Africa as shithole countries. I'm sorry to use that word. That was how he described the whole of Africa. So we don't really amount to much to him. But he has something to gain from using the Nigerian card and the Christian card now in his home. But I doubt if Congress will ask him to come to Nigeria to fight.
Yeah, we have less than a minute to go. Professor Ojo, what's your parting word? I mean, maybe in terms of advice to the Nigerian state.
Yes. Well, for me, I believe that the Nigerian government should stop their current stand on what I call religious violence, and they must start investigating this very transparently. That's number one. And number two, I believe that the Nigerian government must end this current status of impunity in everything that is going on in Nigeria. There are so much impunity. Everything, I mean, just find somebody will do something and there's no consequence. This must stop. And finally, Nigeria government should start some national unity dialogue between different faiths, so that all these issues of Christians accusing Muslim accusing Christians will be able to be trashed at a round table, and will be able to have peace in the country.
Thank you very much, Professor Ojo and Otumba Abayoina. This is where we'll draw the curtain until next week when we come with another episode. Until then, let's keep Nigeria united to destroy terrorism. Thank you.